Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here to recap Shots Fired Season 1, Episode 9, which was Hour 9, titled Come to Jesus. So I did not need this show to open with Preston and Ash having sex again. I just tried to blur the last episode out of my mind, but they kicked it off with this going on again. And so I'm thinking that Preston is fresh out of law school and Ash has already made a name for herself with the Department of Justice, has served in the Middle East, and has a daughter that's like 7 or 8 years old. And she's probably a few years older than Preston and far more mature. So basically she has turned this boy out, and I hope it doesn't get him in any trouble. So the video of Jesse Carr's shooting hits the media, and Preston claims that he was trying to load it to his cloud and accidentally shared it with Jesse's network. And so these two are going to be playing dirty on this episode so that they can solve this case before these replacements come in. But Ash is like, well, if that's the story you going with, then go ahead and stick with it. Shamika has to talk Alicia back, after she sees the video. She says that she feels like it's a violation of her memories with Jesse. And so Alicia lets her know that the memories that she has with Jesse can't be soiled because they're her personal memories that nobody has a video of and no one has privy to that information. So Lieutenant Breeland looks like a hot ghetto mess after that beating that Ash put on him. And I'm just trying to understand why this is the first time that his daughter sees him, because when he first comes into the show, he's actually going to pick his daughter up, Tess, and it was her and 3 other girls that he's picking up to take them to school. And so Tess acts like this is the first time that she's seen her dad with his face beat up like this. And then I was trying to remember if Lieutenant Breeland and his wife are still together, or if they're having problems. And because it seemed like in the second or third episode, when Tess was trying to go to a party or something, she came to him, and it was because him and the mother weren't together or something. I can't remember. But anyway, he went to pick them up, and Tess was surprised that he had got his butt whooped. So Ash goes to see Arlen about the stop that he made for Breeland, the night that they stopped her and scared the crap out of her on the side of the road. And she's trying to get info out of him, but this dude isn't trying to work a deal because he knows that Ash and Preston have been removed from the case, and that, even if he does try to do a deal, that, he doesn't believe that they'll be able to protect him once they're removed off the case. So he gets up and walks out on her. And then meanwhile, Preston goes to see Joshua Beck because Beck has summoned him over to his house. And so when the scene goes to them, Beck is just like on this rampage and running his mouth, and Preston just seems so disinterested and cuts him off and says, exactly why do you have me here? And so then Beck gives him the real files on the auxiliary patrons and, the people that were able to participate. And he explains to Preston that they were doctoring the files that he received, but he had been keeping his own set of the files. And basically the auxiliary officers weren't getting training. They were allowed to carry their own guns, and they were allowed to do things that, civilians weren't supposed to be doing. And so he's giving Preston the information because he knows that he's going to be indicted, and so he wants that to be used, I guess, in the sentencing phase, to show that he did cooperate and help them solve Joey Campbell's case. Preston asks him, what gave him this change of heart, because obviously he had been keeping this information long before the whole shooting of Jesse Carr, so he must be had something else on his mind. And so he makes an admission that a whole lot of good cops, those good cops that support the bad cops, need to wake up one day and that is that he's no longer bleeding blue. That he realizes that his job is not everything, and that, innocent people are losing their lives. So Sarah has finally had enough of Governor Emmons, and so the governor has scrapped the education initiative from the budget, and she tries to convince So then Sarah tries to convince the governor that they need to stay the course and, stand behind what they said they were going to do. But Emmons isn't hearing it. So as the two of them are bickering back and forth about it, Preston shows up. And so the governor wants to know, if he is there to announce that he's about to arrest Beck, like she had told him to do from the start. But Preston has a little surprise for her and lets her know that they have built their case to prove that the auxiliary program is responsible for the death of Joey Campbell. Then next we have Ash, and she goes to visit Lieutenant Breeland, trying to get him to confess his sins. And so Lieutenant Breeland, asks her, how does it feel to fail? And so I'm thinking that she done whooped your butt already. Why are you still taunting her and just being a bully? But he seems to still think that he's in charge of things. But Ash reminded him that, she will fight him in an alley and she will fight him in the courtroom. And so she laid it all out on the table for this fool, and he still wants to be Billy Badass. But, Ash is like, we're going to get to the bottom of this, and you need to come clean or you're going to get caught up in something that you ain't going to be able to get out of. After leaving Breeland, Ash goes to see Pastor Janae, and Pastor Janae lets her know that in true typical police fashion, they are trying to get her to sign a confession. And sadly, after all she's been through, she's actually considering it, but Ash says that she is going to get her out of this mess. And so Pastor Janae, wants to know if Ash has lost her faith and offers to pray with her. And I'm wondering, is Pastor Janae then lost her faith? Because I could not believe that she was actually considering signing this confession. And because my thing is, so you confess to the crime, you still going to jail. If I can get through standing firm, on my standards and my ethics and knowing that I told the truth, I can just go ahead and do my bid. But I don't think I could sit there in jail after confessing to a crime that I know I didn't commit. I don't care what they're promising me. There was a brief scene where Lieutenant Breeland goes to see Arlen Cox to kind of reassure him that, they have an ironclad alibi for him, that he's not going to be charged with anything. And so when he leaves there, he goes to see Sheriff Platt. So I'm going to be honest with you, Sheriff Platt had me fooled. I thought he was an okay sheriff and that these people was doing all this stuff behind his back. But no, Sheriff Platt is right in the thick of things, and he is just as guilty as everybody else. And so, to me, he's the biggest crook of them all. So he is ready to throw Breeland under the bus. And they say the fruit is a sign of the condition of the tree. And where Platt is concerned, he is truly corrupt and only thinking about himself. And, he's playing both sides of the fence to make himself look good. And, just using mind manipulation to keep everybody under control. So Platt's son, remember, was graduating from the police academy, and he didn't want his dad to come to the graduation ceremony, but I guess he had a change of heart. So the two of them are meeting to have a beer after the ceremony is over with. And Platt is so excited that he's so proud and happy that his son let him come. But his son lets him know that he can see straight through his BS, and that if he ever gets to the point as a police officer, where he finds himself turning into his father, he says that he will find another profession, and then he gets up and leaves. And so Platt is just sitting there like, what just happened? Like, did this boy just tell me about myself? But, it's like he can't even see where he's wrong in any of this. So is there really any redemption for him? So he needs to go to jail with the rest of them when they go to jail. And so I guess, Breeland has finally wisened up and realized that he's in this thing all by himself and that nobody has his back. And so he and his lawyer meet with Ash and Preston in some little secluded spot, to discuss doing a deal. And Breeland wants house arrest in exchange for what he knows about the shooting. And I guess anything else that's gone on with Officer Beck and the shooting of Jesse Carr, because remember when Officer Beck had his shooting, Breeland was the first one to arrive on the scene, and I think he was the one that planted the marijuana in Jesse's car. Ash is like, sir, please, we are not cutting a deal with you, so don't even come at us with this. But then Preston, on the other hand, he was open to the idea. And then when Breeland and his lawyer left, Ash was like, how could you even consider this after what he did to me? And then Preston made the mistake of telling Ash that it isn't about her and what Breeland did to her, that they're there to solve the Joey Campbell and the Jesse Carr murder. So that did not sit well with her at all. And so, part of the problem, I think, with Ash is that she thinks with her heart and not with her head. And she is just so emotional that she gets ahead of herself without clearly thinking through things that get her in more trouble than she already is in. And so I'm really starting, I hate to admit this, but I'm really starting to feel sorry for Lieutenant Breeland. I mean, it's bad enough he walking around with that bruised eye and everybody know that Ash beat him up, because I think when he went into the office at one point, they had like this gift on his desk and it was wrapped in pink ribbon, and the officers were laughing at him. So basically he knows that his butt has messed up big time and ruined his career and his life. So he meets with his daughter, Tess, and he's telling her, what really happened when Joey Campbell was killed. And I'm thinking, what a coward move that you're going to sit there and tell all this stuff to your daughter, which had me thinking that he was about to go and commit suicide. And then if he did commit suicide, then Tess, would have all the information that they need to solve the cases. And she can come forth and clear his good name. And I'm just thinking, like, that is such a burden to put on a teenager. And sad that, she is the only person that he has to talk to, which kind of leads me back to the thing that him and the wife may not be together or they're having problems. Because why are you not talking to your wife? Why are all of your conversations with your daughter? So then Preston and Ash, they have a video call with Carol, at the Department of Justice to see what they should do about the offer. And so basically the new team is coming in just for cleanup and to wrap things up. And Carol wants to win and is going to let their replacements close the deal with Breeland. And so Ash and Preston, they need to come up with a plan and they need to come up with one really quick. So they ended up offering Breeland full immunity for his testimony. And when Preston objects, the white female officer, who was just basically another version of Ash, pulls him to the side and paints a picture as if everything that's happened, the fact that Joey Campbell's murder even became an issue, that the rioting, Pastor Janae getting arrested, like all of this stuff was Ash and Preston's fault, because they didn't just come in and focus on Jesse Carr's murder and leave things, arrest Officer Beck and just leave everything else alone. And so they want to wrap things up quickly, get a conviction, and move on to their next case. Ash is like, hell to the no, it's not going down like this, it's not going to be this easy. And she says that if Breeland, gets full immunity, he's basically just going to go to another police station, do the same thing, and possibly another black child ends up dead at his hands, or, that he had some responsibility towards. So to save the day, she goes to Arlen Cox and put the fear of Jesus in him. So she was like telling Arlen Cox all about the deal that they were giving Breeland and how he was going to have to bear the responsibility of the whole shooting and everything. And so her end game was to get him to confess before the ink dried on Breeland's plea deal. So of course, Cox fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, because he's a very wealthy and powerful man, and he knows that even if he goes to jail, he isn't going to go to jail for long. And so I'm sure he feels much better getting the monkey off his back. And yep, it is the same story I mentioned in a previous recap, but I think I said that the story I was thinking about happened in South Carolina, but it actually happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it was a 73-year-old guy who owned an insurance company, and his name was Robert Bates, and he shot and killed a guy named Eric Harris. And he claimed that he was trying to go for his taser, but accidentally pulled his gun out. And can you believe he only got 4 years for killing that man? And so I think that's probably why Arlen Cox said, let me go ahead and confess and get these 2 or 3 years in medium security prison or in a federal prison, because you know in them federal prisons they just on vacation, they ain't really serving no hard time. Then Arlen Cox, you know, he's that type of person that when he flips on you, he turns the whole bed over, because he implemented everybody involved. And I guess Durkins, you remember he was the deputy that committed suicide a couple of episodes ago, he knew what was coming, and that's what, you know, made him decide to take the easy way out. Then the old fool put Ash on blast, letting the replacements know that it was her idea for him to come clean. And I just can't with this old man, because he's going to say and do whatever he can to still try and make himself look good. Now that Cox has confessed and the Department of Justice deal is off the table, this is the moment when Breeland appears to be thinking about taking his own life. And I'm just like, don't do this to your kids, man. Like, your daughter is your whole world. And if you kill yourself, this is just going to be so traumatic and devastating for her. But, you know, God answers unasked prayers, because he was getting ready to call Washington, D.C. He had called, it was like Department of Children and Family or something like that. But anyway, he was going to send them the file on Ash, you know, saying that, you know, she had got arrested for this drunk driving and all, you know, remember from the episode a couple of weeks ago on that fake stop. So anyway, just as the person answered the phone, Tess called. And so he's sitting there, the lady's like, you know, hello, hello. And then you see Tess's, the call ID is popping up showing that Tess is calling. And so he ends up hanging up the phone and burning the information on Ash. And so he's just kind of like standing there. And I'm like, that's right. You got to stand in it, brother. You got to just go with the flow, because you allowed yourself to get in this mess and take your punishment like a man. So now that Arlen Cox has confessed, Pastor Janae is released from prison. And you can tell, you know, the whole situation has taken a toll on her. It's like when they're walking her out of that jail, you can tell that she's looking like she never thought she was going to see the light of day again. And there was a huge crowd there cheering her on. And, you know, and then the whole media was there trying to capture the story. So over at the governor's mansion, Sarah, you know, still trying to talk to Emmons and telling her, you know, to cut ties with Arlen Cox. But Emmons doesn't want to do it. You know, she says she wants to give him the benefit of the doubt that it really was a mistake. And I guess she still needs his money, you know, to run her campaign against the Penn Motor guy who's running against her. And so Sarah's like, damn it, I'm done. I am out of this. So she tells Emmons that she can consider this her resignation. You know, she thanks her for the opportunity, but this ain't the type of politics she's trying to be a part of. So Ash gets the call that she didn't want to get. The judge has ruled in favor of Javier getting full custody of Kai, and she's only giving Ash visitation. And so it's supervised visitation until Ash does 30 hours of anger management, which she desperately needs. Like, nobody can disagree that this woman does not need some anger management. And I'm just thinking she better be glad that it was only 30 hours and not 300 hours. So girl, go ahead and do your anger management so that you can be free to take care of your daughter and see her and visit her and not have to have somebody sitting there. Because I actually have a friend who does supervised visits for people. So like when you want to go see your child, like she's one of the court appointed people that go and sit with you guys while you're visiting or go to the park or Chuck E. Cheese or wherever you're taking your child. And it's really like, it's an invasion of your privacy and something that no parent should have to go through. But if you haven't been doing what you're supposed to do, that's what happens. So Ash goes running over to Preston, you know, to cry on his shoulder and let him know what's going on. And so Preston wants to help, but of course, she isn't listening to anything he has to say because it's all about her. And, you know, she's determined that it was because of Lieutenant Breeland sending the file over. And, like, it's like she never considers that it's because you're crazy and you're off the chain and you're out of control. Like, she, for whatever reason, just can't see that she is part of the problem. And so, never mind her sporadic behavior, she rushes out, claiming that she needs time for herself. So after Ash leaves, Carol calls to say that he thinks that it was a great idea to get Cox to flip, and this way, everybody's going to be held accountable for their part in it. And so he now wants them back as the lead on the case, and I'm thinking how quickly things change. A day ago, you thought they were incompetent and had to send replacements in. Now that they've made this move, they're back in your good favor. So Preston goes to see if Ash is in her hotel room, and who should be in the hallway but Alicia Carr. And I'm thinking that this woman is the epitome of white privilege, because the entire season she has been able to roll up on police officers, investigators, whomever she pleases, to go on her rants about her son, whereas if the thing was flipped, no black person would be able to get this close to the Department of Justice investigators, to the police officer who shot their son or whatever. So I like that little injection of the white privilege thing going on. So now she's confronting Preston about Beck's arrest, and she wants to know when he's going to be arrested and who released the video of Jesse. But all Preston would say is that he believes that the video is going to work in their favor. So that seemed to please her. Then Lieutenant Breeland, instead of killing himself, I guess he decided he was going to go to the hood and let them kill him. And then he can, once again be a martyr. But I understand, this journey that he's on, but I don't think it was a good idea for him to go to the Campbell house. But he shows up and he says that, he wants to apologize and say all the things that he should have said the day that Joey Campbell was murdered. And so he's talking to Shamika, but then Sean comes out, and then Sean punches him in the face. Now keep in mind, you in the hood, it's dark outside, so it's obviously nighttime. And I'm just thinking it's too soon for this. It's like you really set yourself up to get your behind whooped. So needless to say, there was no welcome mat laid out for him. And the people were like throwing stuff at him. And then you had an older guy that came out, told him that they didn't want him there. And that they understood perfectly well what he was doing. And for him to just get on in his car and get up out of there. But before he made it to the car, somebody hit him with a rock or something and hit him in the knee, and he fell down. But I'm just thinking, like, poor Lieutenant Breeland. Then I thought back to that episode where he was talking about the good and bad in people is based on what you've done for people. So you may have been good to this person, so they think you're a great guy, but then you were wrong this person, so they think you're a bad guy. So he's kind of like living that out on this episode. So the show ending caught me totally off guard, and I still can't watch the replay of it because I was like so shocked. But Lieutenant Breeland arrives home, and he's standing out front looking, through a window at his wife and Tess, as the wife is helping Tess with her homework or something, when all of a sudden a car pulls up and opens fire on him. I was like, oh my God, they did not just do this to this man. And so I swear I wanted to cry for him. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to cry for Tess, because she really loved her dad, or I don't know why I wanted to cry. It was just very emotional. And so he was wearing a bulletproof vest, but the shooter, appeared to know how to shoot around the vest, I guess, to still hit those vital organs. Or maybe they weren't trying to kill him at all. But add to the fact that the shooter was driving what looked like the rental car that Ash has been driving all season. Let's just hope that this girl was not that crazy, because if he lives, he saw her because he turned around and looked in the car before he was shot. So, I don't know. I mean, I hate that Fox has opted not to pick the show up for a second season, but we're going to see how they're going to tie all this up in the last episode next week. So, you guys, hope you enjoyed the recap. Leave your comments below. Rate the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And I shall talk to you guys next time. Have a great week. Bye-bye.